Hey everybody, I'm Andrew from the Fan Voice. I'm going to do a quick review of the last two episodes of RWBY. They're pretty big ones, obviously. This season was, pretty quick moving, pretty fast paced, and had a lot going on in it. So I just want to highlight the last two episodes and what I thought was really good. Obviously, spoilers here abound. These are the last two episodes of probably the biggest plot-heavy season of this show so far. So, yeah, just beware. There's going to be spoilers everywhere. So episode 10 was obviously a setup for episodes 11 and 12. And what they do in episodes 11 and 12 are really increase the stakes of the whole show. And we've kind of seen some hints of that throughout the season. But I thought the pacing was really good because we see Penny die kind of tragically, and she's like torn apart by Pyrrha. And then we see, some other consequences here and there, Yang getting in trouble, and things are getting a little heavier and heavier and heavier. And what we see in episodes 11 and 12 is they kind of escalate that to its highest point that we've seen so far. And I actually really enjoyed that a lot. Episode 11 starts out with, RWBY on the ship with fighting Torchwick and Neo. She gets her butt kicked until she can disarm Neo pretty quickly and pretty ingeniously by making her umbrella go out, so she flies off the side of the ship. But Torchwick is obviously no pushover, and his untimely demise comes in his hubris, of course, when he gets swallowed whole by a giant Grim. So I thought it was a pretty fitting death. It is kind of convenient. She's kind of like at her wit's end with him. She's not going to be able to fight back much longer. And then, of course, he gets just eaten out of nowhere. But it fits his character really well. And I thought it was, he's definitely served his purpose. He was the great first comedic villain, but we have villains coming up that are much, much, much bigger. And the small fry kind of has to go away. So I liked his character arc a lot. Then we immediately go into... Pyrrha trying to get the aura away from the maiden. Ozpin has some very weird moments here where he's almost like apologizing to Pyrrha about what he has to do. So obviously there's a lot of pain involved in this process. That's crazy. And episode 11 kind of culminates in two moments that really, for me, I finally knew where the ending was going, which was bleaker. If the transfer worked out and Pyrrha got the aura and everything was fine, you could kind of definitely see the finale going a much cheerier route. But, of course, Cinder interrupts right in time, kills the maiden before the transfer can be complete. And at the same time, during Blake's run-in with Adam of the White Fang, Yang gets in the way and gets her arm literally cut off. So, yeah, at this point, it's pretty much, any hope of this being kind of a fun finale, or even at this point, just a super fun show, is kind of out the window. And it sets up episode 12 really, really well. They're kind of at their wit's end. Everybody is. Yang's got her arm cut off, and obviously Blake is going to be incredibly upset about that. And then we have Cinder with the full power of a maiden. And that's, when episode 12 starts, that's actually where we start. We start with Cinder versus Ozpin. And we finally get to kind of see Ozpin fight. And it's really interesting, but it's just a little too short. It's a really, really cool fight. There's obviously a lot of power involved in this, and this is the highest power level fight we've seen. But at the same time, it's over fairly quickly, and Cinder just flies up the tower and is totally fine. Of course, Pyrrha, being Pyrrha, shoves John in a locker, gets him out of there, and goes up the tower to try to delay Cinder on whatever her plan is. It was right at that moment where I realized, I think Pyrrha's gonna die. And there's a moment where she just kisses John and shoves him in the locker. And you pretty much know at that point that her character arc's getting completed here. This is going to be kind of what she was, destined for. And that's one of my favorite parts about the season, and really about the show so far, is Pyrrha's character arc. It's probably one of the better character arcs I've seen in a while. It ends up kind of, she, in season 1, everybody knows her as the best fighter, Season 2, she's put on a pedestal and she doesn't like that. And Season 3 is all about destiny. And it's a really, really interesting character arc, and it ends on a really great but incredibly sad note where she does end up being killed by Cinder. Of course, the whole point of this is to have an effect on the 4 main characters. So RWBY sees her kind of go into ash and blow away and loses her mind. And what happens next is everything goes white. She wakes up at home. We finally get to see, her dad and her home and everything. And it turns out that Beacon is sort of saved. There's this giant Grim that was roaming around, stuck in midair over Beacon Tower. And Crow explains that RWBY is, a part of this old legend of silver-eyed warriors. So the legend itself isn't a bad part. That's not a problem. The problem is that I hope that this doesn't lead to everybody being a part of some legend. Jean's a part of a legend now. Nora is. It seems to me that would escalate everything to the ridiculous levels of shonen that I don't personally like. Everybody has that next thing. They can't just have techniques and get better at them. They have to find the next better technique or special power or whatever it is. I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not where they're going. I will say it's interesting to hear about all these legends, though, because that's the part that I really want to get to, is the world of Remnant is fascinating. And I do want to hear more of these legends. I just hope that it doesn't kind of cheapen the characters in a way and make them so they have this amazing power without training or without doing anything really themselves. We get a really great moment with RWBY and Yang. Yang is obviously depressed and just wants to lie there, and RWBY can't understand where her sister went. And the gang's kind of split up. Yang's at home, she's laying in bed. RWBY decides she's got to go after Cinder, so she gets together with Jean, the rest of Team Jean, and they go off to Haven in search of Pyrrha's killer. And then, of course, Weiss is whisked away by her father, and Blake runs away in classic Blake fashion. So we get a great setup for Season 4 in that we get to see where these characters grow from being deconstructed. We see Blake, in this season kind of come up against her major villain, and we see her break down and run away. We see Yang come up against her anger and get cut down. And we see Weiss come up against her major villain, who is her father, and get whisked away. And of course, classic, innocent main character, RWBY, who is phased but determined. And she's the one who's going to continue on the journey first. So I'm excited to see where everybody else kind of comes into it next season, and they can all join up back up again, become Team RWBY. So it's a really great setup for Season 4. There's also one more thing that I wanted to mention, and that's the reveal of the main villain at the end. So it's set up in a really great way, which is basically, at the very beginning of the first season, you hear a voice talking about the world of Remnant. And it's what I have been calling kind of the world of Remnant voice, because the extra episodes in between the main episodes that kind of flesh out the world a little bit usually have her voice as the narrator. So it's great because you get to see a lot about the world, and everything, and I've never really put a thought into who that is, but it turns out that person talking at the beginning, that Ozpin then responds to in the very first season, is indeed the main villain, Salem. So I guess Salem is, we don't know much about her, but we are pretty sure that that's who Cinder has been answering to this whole time, and it's very clear to us that her and Ozpin go way back, and that, to me, probably means ancient times way back. And that throws a whole bunch of wrenches into fan theories, I'm sure. But it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here, because we're getting a much higher view of the world. We've focused on these characters, and now we're going to get much more backstory on the world, and kind of the what seems like this eternal struggle between this character Salem and Ozpin. So the setup for Season 4 is really fantastic. 4 main characters split up. They're all going to come back together. We get to see them we get to see the writers kind of reconstruct these characters from bringing them down and bring them back up again. And then we also get to see a lot more about the world of Remnant. Hopefully, the Legends, the Maidens, Silver-Eyed Warriors, and then, of course, Salem and Ozpin. So I could not be more happy with this season. Me personally, this is my favorite season of RWBY by far. RWBY's always been kind of that endearing, fun web series, and I'm a fan of Rooster Teeth, so I've always liked their writing style and their directing style, and the fact that they just do it is very, very cool to me, and they're very independent. And this season just showed that they could really produce the quality kind of stuff that a lot of people kind of expect from them and want from them. And they totally delivered on that. They put together a story that's been 2 seasons in the making, and now they've set it up for what could even be an even better season. So really, all in all, I'm incredibly happy of this season specifically, but of RWBY in general, and I'm really excited to see where this goes next year when it comes back. So I want to know what you guys think, though. I know there were a couple things this season that were missing. Monty's kind of flair wasn't here. Is that a big detractor for you, or did the writing and the directing, which I personally think the quality is much better this season, did that kind of push it over the edge for you? Because it definitely did for me. And of course, I hope the fight scenes stay the way they were this season, because they were good this season. They're obviously not going to be Monty levels, but they were good. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you think, and I guess I'll see you guys next year, because I'm definitely going to be reviewing RWBY next year. I'm definitely in for RWBY. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you next time.